I'm Coach Loretta. Welcome to the Dirt Trail Running Podcast. I'm here with Coach Lindsay
Hi, everyone.
and our special guest, one of our other coaches, Coach Madeline Harms. Thanks for coming today, Maddie.
Yeah, nice to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
So we've had Madeline on the podcast before, and I just called you Maddie because my daughter is Maddie, and then I'm like, I don't even know if she goes by that.
I go by either one. It's all
Okay.
good.
After I said it, I'm like, wow. So, can you tell us a little bit? I know we've had you on the podcast before, but can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so I am a in running or just in life or everything.
All of the above.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I'm a coach with Ornery Mule, obviously. And for my main job, I'm actually a professor at University of Minnesota Duluth, where I teach psychology. So,
Cool.
good topic for today. And I've been a runner since I was like a little kid.
Yeah.
I've always just kind of, well, I was really uncoordinated when I was a kid, so other sports didn't work out for me. But I found running and just fell in love with it. And so, yeah, I've done a lot of road races and a lot of trail races. And yeah, I've got into ultra running and yeah, all that stuff. I just enjoy it all and really enjoy the coaching piece as well.
And a mom.
Awesome.
How old
And I
is
am a mom. Yeah, I have a 4-year-old. Yeah, my daughter just turned 4. So that's a super fun age.
Right. Cool. Yeah, so we brought Matt on today in because we thought we would talk a little bit about sports psychology. Madeline also just took a course through USCA, the sports psychology course. And so that kind of brought up a little bit of conversation. And I think it's a great space to talk about that in our sport because I think definitely sports psychology plays a huge role in our races, our events, our training, to get us to that finish line.
Yeah, and I think that we all probably have a story. Maybe we can share a little bit, each one of us, about like a time where we're in a race and our mind kind of plays tricks on us and how we either overcame it or did you pick the other route and did you stop? But of course, like Madeline, you'll be much more versed in the psychology version of it. But sometimes the mind is just so interesting of like how, like we were talking, Loretta, like stuff just snowballs. Like you can have like a pebble in your shoe and then all of a sudden like your knee's gonna fall off. Like your mind like your mind really does play these tricks on you. And I'm curious to see if we've kind of figured out maybe through the USCA training or little tips and tricks to figure out how to push past that and maybe see what's an actual issue versus what is our mind kind of playing tricks on us or snowballing.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and some things yeah I could say about that. Or I think the first step is actually just recognizing that that can happen out there, that our mind plays tricks on us, and that, obviously like hallucinations and stuff, it's pretty obvious, if you're hallucinating out there a mile 80 or whatever, it's not real. And we can oftentimes like acknowledge that these are hallucinations and not real. But there's yeah, more subtle ways that our mind can play tricks on us as well. Like think we have um yeah, something like a little niggle is like a career-ending injury
Right.
or yeah, it's like I've been throwing up a bit, so I gotta quit right now. That sort of thing. Or versus like try and problem solve and try and work our way through things. So I think, yeah, probably the most important thing is just that recognition um that that will happen and then like putting things in place ahead of time, right, to
Mhm.
mitigate those. So hopefully, like I think that's where crew and pacers can be really helpful, like talking you off that ledge and
Right.
if it's appropriate, they can have a more objective sense of the situation and figure out whether it's appropriate for you to keep going or not.
Right. And I kind of like the piece you touched on it, kind of starting that way, like starting with your mind really strong or starting with a contingency plan if something comes up. Having your mind kind of right before you go in, I think is a massive part of the whole thing, right? Because like if you go in doubting yourself or worried about something that might pop up, it really kind of sets the tone for your race. Or like, I had an instance I think I mentioned after before when I was doing Cruel Jewel. It was such a big race, and your mind psychs you out. Like, why am I here? Why, like, do I deserve to be here? Like all of that. So my mantra for like the first 10 miles was, I deserve to be here. I deserve to be here. So like kind of setting yourself up for success at the beginning. And maybe it's a mantra like that, or having that contingency plan. Like if my stomach goes, what do I do? How do I shift my mindset? I think is really helpful that you touched on.
Hmm.
That too, like being prepared. So one of the things that I learned, so I like to get ahead of myself in a race. And, when I start hitting like, oh, I'm almost to, I just hit 50 miles. I'm almost to 100K. Well, in reality, I'm not almost to 100K. It's ways, right? Especially at that point of the race. But so I had to kind of practice that in training too, and reminding myself some of the things that kind of brings me back to being present and where I'm at in the race versus moving ahead. And it's something that you don't practice as much in a training run because you don't aren't doing such long training runs, so you might not get to that point. But I had to like purposely sort of practice that while I was running. So for instance, I usually my mantra is smile, relax, and run. Well, I never really use that in training because I don't really need to, but I use it in a race. Well, I needed to start practicing it in training so that it was kind of there on my mind when I was in the race, and so I could actually use that mantra when I needed it.
Yeah, I love that. That's kind of like being present in the moment, right? Like being present, and it kind of relates to like the panic attack thing that can happen too. Because if anyone struggles with panic or anxiety, one of the main things they tell you is to focus on things that you can touch and feel. So it's being present. So I think that that's a cool, kind of relatable thing. But I'm curious on this. What was the USCA training title of the course?
Yeah, I was just looking it up here. So the title of the course is yeah, just sports psychology.
Hmm.
Yeah, sports psychology specialization course. So it's like a mini course.
Hmm.
And yeah, so yeah, it's taught by Dr. Justin Ross, who's a psychologist out of Denver. And yeah, so he just has like a bunch of just talks that he kind of walks through. And it's actually just kind of him talking versus like PowerPoint stuff. I mean, there's a little bit of that, but it's mostly just like him chatting, which I kind of liked a little better. Like
Yeah.
sometimes just like looking at slides for a million
Yeah.
hours can get a little tiresome.
Definitely. What were kind of the main points that you found helpful in this course specifically?
Yeah, I thought one thing that he touched on, like in terms of goal setting, was just kind of like added another wrinkle to it that I hadn't thought of before. So we probably heard of like, yeah, like the SMART goals acronym, right? And so that's specific, measurable, achievable, um, realistic, and timely, I think. I think
Hmm.
it
Oh,
stands
I
for
love
that.
this. This is good
Yeah.
for the listeners from a professor standpoint. Give us an acronym.
And then but then there's like three types of goals we can develop. So there are outcome goals, which are basically like I want to like get first place, or I want to get top 10, or like
Mhm.
something that you really don't actually have that much control over because it
Right,
depends on how other people do too. Um,
right.
which is so you want to like generally not be too hung up on those types of goals, although you can still, have them as goals. And then there's performance goals, which was kind of the new one I hadn't realized was there before, which is kind of in the middle. So it's like I want to like achieve a certain time, right? So it's like I want to do this race 100 miles in under 24 hours or something like that. So
Hmm.
which is a bit more in your control, but still like not totally, right?
Hmm.
Because things can still go wrong.
Right.
And then there's process goals, which are like what you usually want to focus on the most, which are like I'm gonna, follow my nutrition plan and have a nutrition plan. I'm gonna like run this pace at the beginning, and I'm gonna say hi and thank the aid station workers, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which are
Really.
ideally to do those will like help you be more likely to achieve your performance and outcome goals that you have. But those are more fully in your control, right? The
Right.
process goals. So you want to focus the most on those.
And I like those too because in a longer race, like those, what are they called? Process goals? The
Process goals. Yeah.
smaller ones. I like that because it also gives you like little things that you can do to kind of make your race more pleasurable or pass the time a little more quickly. I love that you mentioned like thank an aid station worker or or smile at one because I mean that's the last thing on our our to-do
Mhm.
list when we're running these things. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's proven over and over again if you can get the in any area of life, if you can get the attention off of yourself and put it on the others or the emphasis off of yourself, it kind of brings more joy into your life. Um,
Yeah.
so I think that that's a cool thing that you mentioned, and I think we all should be reminding our athletes of this too.
Yeah, totally, totally. I actually had a friend, when I ran the Superior 100, a friend of mine was also running, but he like had like really hadn't gotten in the training he wanted and hadn't gone
Mhm.
well, and he felt like super unprepared. Um, and he ultimately did not end up finishing the race because he
Oh.
got dehydrated and timed out. But he still made it like 85 miles.
Mm.
But like what he did to motivate himself was he actually he's really artistic, so he drew a handmade card to give to the each aid station. So as he would get to each aid station, he would like give them
That's
the card.
incredible.
Yeah, it was like so amazing. And then yeah, like we were all signing the cards and
Yeah,
like
that's
writing
really,
on
really
there. It
cool.
was really cool. Yeah.
And it gives you
Wonderful.
a task to focus on, right? That besides
Yeah.
thinking about everything hurts.
Yeah, and I think yeah, he made it like much further than he otherwise, would have, because
Right. He's got
partly
cards
because of
to
that.
hand out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what's funny? Just while you were saying that, I was thinking, I've ran plenty of races where like people, no matter the weather or anything, the course, people will dress up as something funny. And I'm
Mhm.
kind of wondering if it's kind of along the same realm of like the sport, just the psychology of it. Like, how can you possibly be like in such a bad mood dressed as an elf or, whatever it is? And it probably also gives you attention from other competitors and aid station workers. Like anyone that kind of gives you a pump along the way. So there
Mhm.
might be something to just little tips and tricks like that. Not saying you have to dress up or hand out cards, but finding the joy aid station to aid station is kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, like what can sort of like lighten things up
Yeah,
or just like make it a little less serious maybe in some ways.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also think that, the piece of process goals are a great thing for looking at training too, right? So I,
Hmm.
I talk with my athletes a lot about like maybe they thought that their long run they didn't get as far as they wanted to, but they nailed their nutrition today or they nailed their cooling strategies. There's great process goals in every workout that we do. I think that
Mhm.
take something from, right? It wasn't a ruined workout because I didn't get 15 miles when I only got 14, because if all those
Mhm.
other days, those things are so much more important come race day versus I missed a mile on my run today.
Yeah,
Right.
totally.
Yeah, and I think that I'm sure you do it too, Madeline, but I think we all kind of like really try and highlight those. Like my first thing was when an athlete like reports back their run or like, oh, I didn't, this went wrong. I'm like, okay, you did this. How did the heat feel? Did you eat? All of those things is really important in the bigger picture because like if you comes race day and you're only focused on what you haven't done versus what you have, I mean, you totally need to know what you have done to get there, not what you haven't done to get there.
Yeah, like yeah, again, yeah, like what's in your control now,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
What can you do? It's like, oh, you didn't do heat training? Well, it's like, okay, how can we do cooling strategies like during the race then, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good. So I think this comes at a really good time. I just went to the Western States 100 and my husband actually got to see when David Roche ended his race that day. So he saw him come through, kiss his wife, go on through, and then a few minutes later came back through and decided to call it a day. And we had kind of followed him a lot on social media, all of his training. I mean, he put so much thought into um his nutrition and his hydration and he did a lot of gut training. He just did a lot of very specific training for this race and he had really big goals, right? So he was putting it all out there that he wanted to win Western States. Um,
Hmm.
So, you go in with an added pressure, whether you're an elite, right, or a pro runner, or you're just everyday runner that goes in and they've announced on social media that I'm running this event, right? You still have that outside pressure that's also coming in. So, so it's interesting just kind of how the day played out for David. He sounded like he started out with a pretty good day, and then he ended up, call it at the Forest Hill aid station, so around 100K in, I think. So
Mhm.
put together a video called Breakable, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, breakable, which is hilarious.
It's really great. I thought it was really great because it was very transparent and it was very real. And I think that a lot of people can relate to it. So um, I'm just going to kind of briefly little talk about it. So he really had somewhat of a panic attack, right? He was starting to think about his health. Been in a bicycle accident. Feels like now that maybe he hasn't addressed all of that, but was worried about his health, starting to think about his children and wanting to be there for his children. And it just kind of snowballed, and he just couldn't pull himself out mentally from it, and that's really why he ended up calling it a day. Do you want to talk
Mhm.
about that, Madeline, and kind of like how that went and how we can avoid going down that same path? Because he was very, very well prepared. I even he even wrote, that a lot of things started falling apart, nutrition, hydration, but I think it was more that mental piece in the end that
Mhm.
really took him out of the game.
Right. And it's again like thinking about like how we respond when those nutrition and hydration pieces or, how we're feeling, how we're doing don't go as planned, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was a really interesting situation. And yeah, I think it's like a lot of people did relate to it because they have experienced similar things. Maybe not, even if they're not an elite athlete like David and like trying to win the race and it's not going well, but just trying to finish and feeling like your body isn't working for you. Like, yeah, like how do you deal with that? Yeah, I did think it was super interesting. And yeah, one aspect that he brought up was like this unresolved trauma of his car accident like a year ago or something like that. Where he was in a really, really serious, he was biking and got hit by a car and was almost he didn't actually almost die. He like somehow lucked out and just got pretty minor injuries, but he did get a concussion.
Mhm.
So that certainly can affect brain and
Mhm.
psychology for a
Traumatic.
very long time. Um, so yeah, so he did get a concussion and had, treated for abrasions and things in the hospital. But yeah, it was a really serious accident. So like was lucky to survive it based on like how bad it was. Um, and he did feel like that kind of like being in that accident kind of transformed his training, and he felt like he wasn't afraid to like do a lot of things in training anymore. So he actually like really developed as an athlete after that. But he still, I think, like he realized in the race, like, he still hadn't addressed that trauma, like
Mhm.
how he responds psychologically when things aren't going well.
Right.
And kind of basically like admitted during that video, it's like, yeah, I probably need to pursue some like, therapy or something like that to try and like work through this and work through strategies for the future when inevitably these physical symptoms happen again if you're going to race ultras.
At one point, he started having vision issues. It may or may
Mhm.
not be related to his hydration, his electrolytes, his nutrition.
Yeah.
I don't know. But, I think that we've all been there. We felt something wrong with us in a race, and we start to, well, we're tired.
Mhm.
Can't think as well or as objectively at that point, and it starts getting to us like, oh, what if this is going to put me out for a long time? What if I end up in the hospital? That's one of the things that was going through his mind. Like, I've seen athletes have rhabdo. Do I, he wasn't anywhere near rhabdo, but still he started thinking of all of those things, and it
Yeah. Like spiraling. Yeah.
just couldn't get out of it. I think now, of course, he looks back and goes, I wish I could have kept going, right? But I
Mhm.
think it's real. I think that people, whatever your level is, can have this happen. Whether you've had a trauma that haven't dealt with and you're going through, or you don't have a trauma, it could still happen because, our mind is so powerful, right? It takes us to places
Mhm.
we just can't get out, especially out there alone on the trail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, you touched on it, but important to note that like you don't have to be an elite runner for this to happen to you. Like it's all so important to every one of us. Like everyone we coach, or even just every single athlete out there. Like no one shows up to a race like okay if they just perform their worst and quit right away. Like nobody wants to do that. Like everyone wants to do their best. And you know, it's funny because like for me, I don't hardly tell people when I'm running a race because it plays into the psychology of it. Like everyone always laughs because like the only races people really know about are like the ones that have a lottery or where like my name's announced or something. I
Mhm.
just like am quiet until I'm done with it because it's the psychology of it. And like some people like that pressure of having people watching and following and cheering you on. And I'm someone that hates it. Like I'd rather just report back when I'm done. Um, but I think it like you have to know kind of what you bring and what where your mind kind of sits. But I know that about myself. So I'm kind of curious like how other people use that as well. Like are you more vocal about it or but I think any sort of level of athlete, like we all deal with this. Like we all want to do our best.
hmm Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, I don't know, I'm probably just somewhere in between. It's like, I mean, I'm not like an elite athlete that's, gonna win
Yeah.
anything that's on a national level.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, generally my friends and family know
Yeah.
what I'm doing, but that's, yeah.
Yeah, same. Any added pressure, I just don't want to feel it. I actually just ran like a fun run. Like notoriously 5Ks stress me out more than anything. And like if
5Ks
I
are so hard.
they're so hard, they're so stressful. If I have a 5K that I know I'm doing, the whole week leading up to it, I'm nervous. I'm like looking at motivational videos. I'm like, this is so silly. But the other night, I ran a fun run 5K and ran like one of my best races and like won the female. And like, so
Yeah.
like the joke is like, if I just call it a fun run, I'm gonna be okay.
I feel like that always happens with me too.
Hmm.
It just like if it's something I'm like kind of not taking that seriously, like I'll just like sometimes perform better than race
Yeah.
I'm all like serious about. And
Exactly. Yeah. And I think some people definitely relate with that more. And then some people might be the other way, that maybe they like the little bit of importance or added pressure that telling people or announcing it or whatever it is, or like putting that sort of importance on it sometimes helps people. But for me, it definitely stresses me out.
yeah.
I think Coach Reed really likes that. He likes that extra accountability and, he
Hmm.
all out there. But I think it is different for everyone. And I also feel like it changes as you go through the sport, right? So
Right.
in the beginning, ignorance is bliss, right? Races are harder when you start
Yeah.
putting pressure on yourself.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And yeah, Reese does like that. Like and there's something to it too. Like there's something about calling what you're doing, calling your shot, saying I'm playing, or like David, like I'm planning on podium or what winning Western, setting a record or whatever it is. But I can't imagine that sort of pressure that David was feeling. And I hope that there's no, I mean, clearly he's still thinking about it, putting out this video, but like I hope that he can kind of take that and use it for the next one because obviously he's an incredible runner. But so often we see this too in other sports. Like, have either of you watched the Simone Biles newest documentary
I haven't seen the newest one.
where she
But yeah,
gets,
I know
yeah,
that
talks
she gets
about the
the
twisties and
twisties, yeah.
yeah, which is all psychological.
hmm Yeah, and actually the word for that, like what happened to David and yeah, what happened to Simone is called like, choking is kind of the
Hmm.
general term for it. When it was basically like you just get too much in your head,
Yeah.
like instead of and like kind of let things spiral instead of allowing your body to kind of do what it knows how to do.
Right. I mean, and can you imagine like the stakes of being Simone Biles and knowing that you could die if like you can't get your mind right? Like,
Right, yeah. Yeah.
no, no, thank you.
No thanks.
That are putting it all out there and going for big things like world records or American records, and then they don't have their day and they somewhat, choke, and then they are, there's that pressure of social media. But what
Ugh.
Talked about in David's situation is it sounds like he had an outpouring of support, which I think is incredible. First of all, that people are recognizing mental health in the sport, right? And then
Mhm.
knowing that this can happen. This can happen to anyone. It can
Mhm.
happen anytime in a race, and knowing that it's okay, right? It's okay. We're human and we're going to come back and we're going to try again.
Yeah, and that try again piece is huge because so much about overcoming anything is just showing back up and getting back on the horse or back in the saddle. And I think that that's kind of like the turning point. Like you can't go out like that. You can't sit on that for too long. So I hope like making that video did help him process it. But yeah, I just love seeing like the insight of people that have like these massive goals and that do fall short. But I bet you this is not the last we're going to see of him in a big, big race where he does do really well.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. Yeah, he's already talked on this. I listened to his podcast, so he's already talked about like having more plans. So I
Yeah.
think he's doing processing it, working on it. And
And I'm curious how the next race will be because clearly he was trained in everything, but the psychological piece got to him. So I'm wondering how he's going to train for that. Like,
Mhm.
do you think, Madeline, that you can train? Like, how would you go about getting one of your athletes to like specifically train their mind for this? I know we touched on it a little bit, but again,
I think that so some things that can be real helpful are like visualization
hmm
exercises, like, just like visualizing yourself at mile like 65, like what are you,
hmm
in different scenarios, like
hmm
going well, like say it's going great, and how are you gonna process that?
hmm
Or it's going like poorly and you're throwing up everywhere, like how are you how are you gonna process, those different extremes or like different possibilities, and kind of like working through it in your mind ahead of time.
yeah,
So like if or when you do reach those things, you do experience those things during the race, you can kind of be like, well, I have already visualized this and,
right,
thought about how I'd respond here, and
right,
sort of like carry out with that plan if you can.
yeah. And I think there's two ways to also look at like when you visualize a race. Of course, you want to visualize the finish line and all of that, but whenever I have a really difficult race lined up in my mind, difficult for me, I think I prep for like the worst, hardest case scenario.
Mhm.
And I don't know if everybody does that, but then when I get there, I'm already prepped to be in pain. I'm already prepped for my feet to hurt. I've done all that mental prep. I don't necessarily prep for best case scenario. Uh,
Yeah.
but I'm curious for either of you, what do you guys do?
Yeah, so I do both. So kind of prepping for, okay, I'm at this mile. I watch a lot of videos of the race
hmm
and I'm at this point and I feel great. It's a sunny day, right? Or I'm at this point and the weather sucks and I feel like crap and
hmm
I want to quit. Like
Yeah.
race is the way I think a lot of times when people start visualizing a race, they often visualize a nice sunny day, but reality means it could be rainy. It could
Yeah.
be really hot and humid. It could be really cold, like some
Yeah.
that. So we have to be prepared mentally for anything that maybe is thrown at us that day.
hmm
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like I tend to be like a worst case
Yeah.
scenario kind of prepper too. It's like I don't really think of what I'm gonna do. I feel like it comes more like if things are going well, it just comes more naturally. It's like, oh well, I just things are going great, then I'll like,
Right.
and it's depending on where in the race, then I'll like, run faster.
Right.
So how
Um,
would you
yeah.
get an athlete to like work through like a situation where, you had a choke in a race? So like how do you get through it and how do you get back on the start line?
Yeah, I think the first thing to do is, and like this is something that I've realized based on my own experiences too, is like you got to forgive yourself, right? You let's say you choke, you quit a race, and you feel horrible. You feel like it's definitely the right call at the moment, because your health is at risk, and then you like wake up the next morning and just feel fine, like you just went
Mhm.
for a long run, like just barely sore, and you're like, dang it. Why didn't I get back out there? Um, so yeah, you just got to forgive yourself, right? You made the best decision that you thought at the time with the resources you had. There's just no point in beating yourself up about what you decided. And yeah, just, figure out. And I think like sometimes we have to go through those things to learn like that we need to do the mental prep. Like I'm
Mhm.
thinking about my Hennepin 100 race, where I did have like a lot of physical things going on and I, was throwing up everywhere for like 30 miles. It was quite bad.
Yeah.
But I kind of like, once I lost my like goal of beating 24 hours and it wasn't going to happen, I had failed to have any other goals. So I just had no motivation to keep going. And so I quit at the 50-mile mark. And yeah, then woke up the next day and just feeling like totally fine, like
Yeah.
all I did was go for a long run. And yeah, like it, and so it took a little work to forgive myself. And but yeah, it's just like, that's how it goes sometimes, right? Like these are the things I would do different. I'd have a pacer there earlier. I would have more warm clothes. I would
Mhm.
have other goals other than like a performance goal. So
Right. Yeah, and I think having another goal, and you don't have to call it A, B, or C goal or whatever, but just those smaller goals. Let's say if you fall off that sub 24, then of course you're like, now what? Like,
yeah, yeah,
now what? But I think there's very few people in this world that have ever not had a DNF, and I think it's almost crucial to go through one because you remember how that feels, right? Like you were just speaking on
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And maybe that's part of this whole equation is like remembering how that feels, and you want to do everything you can to not go through that again.
Hmm.
But I think that, that's super powerful. One thing I tell my athletes, and I'm always like, please text me in the race if you're like having an issue, like, let's talk about it. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but I wish they all would.
Yeah.
Because I'm watching anyway, like, doesn't matter what time of night is it, I'm like, where are they at? But one thing I tell them, because it's inevitable that most of us panic in the heat of the day around like mile 30 whenever things are supposed to hurt. It's hot. You're getting really fatigued. And I always tell them, like, wait until nightfall before you make any sort of decision. It's going to get cooler. The temps are going down. It's a completely different race at night. Like, you're probably going to have a completely different mindset once you get through this part.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, just like, yeah, thinking about that, it's like, yeah, you feel like you're gonna die right now. But like, if you have time, you can just, hang out
Yeah,
aid station for a few minutes. You can get by, and just
exactly.
just chill, like
Yeah.
take an hour. Um,
Yeah. And
or-
99% of things can be fixed by a nap or food.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I had an athlete that was just doing a race and she's been having trouble with not finishing because she just is done. She decides she's done, but she's got a big goal. She's got a big 100 coming up, a Wasatch, which is no joke 100.
yeah.
And like you have to get through this. Like, how are we going to get you through this race? So I always offer a call before a race with athletes. This was more of a training run, but still, this is kind of where we're at. And so she's like, I'd like a call on Friday, but I'd like you to text me halfway through my race on Saturday. And I think that really worked out well for her because she went in Friday. We had a, good conversation. She was feeling ready. I messaged her and I just happened to time it like when she just missed or hit the halfway point of the race, which was
Uh,
perfect because she was feeling really good. She sent me a picture of the turnaround. She was headed back and she finished the race, super happy with herself and met the process goals of pacing to be prepared as we move into, Wasatch. So I think, each athlete, different things like that can also be helpful too. Just like you, Lindsay, I tell my athletes, like any time of the day or night, message me, call me, do not drop until you tell me.
yes.
Give yourself some time. We usually have a lot of time, that we can spend a few minutes getting ourselves back together, giving ourselves a rest, giving ourselves time to eat or drink or whatever we need before we actually make that call. But I think too often we make that call in our head before we've given ourselves that time. And so then it's hard to reverse that call in our head. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Right. Yeah. It's incredibly hard to reverse that call. And all that, I guess, is the remedy. Sometimes you can try everything, but time may be the only thing on your side. Like, just trucking through it until something changes, you know? And I think inevitably it will unless there's something catastrophic. But, you know, even if it's like a 100-mile race and let's say mile 50, you're done, and then you just end up sticking it out to 70. In my mind, I'm like, okay, well, now I can't stop. I'm at 70 miles.
Yeah.
So then something else will switch. Another thing is like a process goal would be run 2 minutes, walk three, like doing like a time walk run is what I do a lot of times when I just can't seem to get my mind to stop focusing on quitting or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. I mean, I love to count when I run. I hate numbers, but I love to count when I run.
Yeah. It's a yeah, it's like a method of distraction, really. It's like,
Hmm.
okay,
Yeah.
just, get to the next 2-minute interval and
Yeah. It
then
gives you something
walk
to,
again. And
yeah, give you something to play with. So
yeah.
anything, and I've been getting my athletes a lot of times to do this in their long runs too. Like, let's play with a 4-1, let's play with a 3-2,
Hmm.
because you're in all reality, none of us are running 100 miles straight or whatever race it is. So
Hmm.
getting them to practice that in training makes it less catastrophic when you have to do it in on race day.
Yeah.
I agree. So, is there anything else that we want to add?
Let's see. Anything on the psychology realm? Hmm. I think we touched on a lot of the big ones, but reiterating that, like, I mean, think in your normal day how important food is for your psychological well-being. Like,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then you add in stressing your body to the max, sleep deprivation, like all of it. Truly, I tell my first time or my first question anytime an athlete messages me about struggling, I'm like, what have you eaten? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like revert back to like being a child, like, have you eaten?
Yeah.
So I want to like make sure people are thinking about that too. Like sometimes things are just an easy problem solving situation.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and I think that recognition that you kind of like do end up reverting back to a child when
Yeah.
you're like in the late stages of an ultra is also like for me, I'm a developmental psychologist, so I study children's cognitive development.
That's
So
perfect. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, yeah, well, right now, like my prefrontal cortex like just doesn't work anymore. It's
Yeah,
fun.
exactly.
So so you have to, yeah, like having a snack really helps because like your brain runs on glucose only,
Right.
right? So the rest of your body can use like, ketones and fats and other things to produce energy. Your brain has to have glucose. And if you don't have glucose going to your brain, it doesn't
It doesn't
work.
function. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So having sugar is really important.
That's
And yeah.
interesting.
Funny
I
you
So
say
like that you
yeah.
said that.
If you notice, like if I even just notice if I'm like getting cranky during
Yeah.
an ultra, it's like, well, that probably means you need to take a gel or something.
I love that you said that because
Yeah.
we're so often worried about our muscles needing the attention. Like, what can I give my muscles to not cramp? What can I give my muscles to keep moving? But if your brain's
Yeah.
done, you're done. Like, so
Yeah. Your
gotta,
brain is the central
yeah,
governor, right? So it's
exactly. I like that you said that. So hopefully we can take that into our athletes too and remind them that your brain is the puzzle piece here. You got to feed it.
yeah.
and I love that you developmental psychology. So my background is early childhood as well.
Okay. Yeah.
The strategies that I use, which I would have used on sometimes on children, is a broken record strategy. So
Uh-huh.
my broken record strategy in running is I just keep repeating the same thing, like just get to the next mile, just get to. It's like on repeat in my head sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So yeah, maybe like the the whole takeaway of today is like treat yourself or your runner like a child.
You have a toddler on your hands.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah, treat yourself. Yeah, it's like if you have a kid, it's like, well, if my kid was feeling like this, like what would
yeah,
I what would I say to them? So say that to
yeah,
yourself.
completely. No, I think that that's a good thing, a good takeaway for today.
Maybe we should have a parenting class for pacers and
I love that.
so okay, so let's see. Lindsay, what was your latest event? Have you done
What
something?
if Oh, I just did that fun run that did not stress me out. That's such a win. Like I'm telling you, 5Ks are like my nemesis, but came away. I mean, it was just a, 100-person fun run, but got the top female, so I was happy about that. Yeah. And then I won't talk about anything I have coming up because it'll stress me out. So I'll wait till after I'm done with it.
That's great. And Madeline, you just came back from a little trip?
Yeah, we went to the Winnipeg Folk Festival, which is this like 4 day. I don't know if there's anything like it in the States really. It's this 4 day music festival up in Winnipeg. And you also get like, or you can buy tickets that include 5 nights of camping.
Oh,
So it's like, yeah, so it's like this whole like family vacation thing. They have and it's like it's like for everybody, right? So they have like this one campground that's like the festival party campground, but they have another one that's like for, families or people just want to actually sleep at night.
Yeah.
The quiet. So we go and stay in the quiet campground. We brought our, the 4-year-olds. And yeah, we had a great time. Like, you're not necessarily like super wrapped on like super paying high attention to all the shows the whole time, but like everywhere you're walking around, it's like you're hearing, there's lots of different stages and you're hearing various different music. The one show I did go to actually like by myself because my daughter had to get home and go to sleep was the Jason Isbell played the opening night, and so that was a really, really cool show to see.
Awesome. Very cool. Sounds
Yeah.
fun.
It's a great atmosphere. Yeah, I would recommend it to everybody if you like music.
Yeah. Very cool.
so
And
I ran my first race with Zuki this weekend.
yeah.
Is our golden doodle. She just turned 6 months. So I don't really run with her, and my intention was not to run. I asked my friend to bring her dog and we would walk the 5K. But when all the dogs took off, there was walking the 5K. Like she's like trotting along. She wasn't working real hard, but she was, at a good pace. And
Yeah.
I had no idea how fast she would run it because we've never ran. We usually walk like, maybe sub 20-minute miles.
Yeah.
She had to go to the bathroom on the course, wait for her friend to go to the bathroom. She saw one of my friends, or one of the athletes I coach was the course marshal. So we stopped and said hello to her, and we still finished in 11:44. So I think she's got potential down the line.
Yeah. Go
Nice.
Suki. I
And
love that.
she absolutely loved it. Meeting all the dogs, that was great fun for her. When she got done, there was a farmer's market set up in our downtown, and she found the most giant bowl of dog water that I think there was, and she laid beside it, and I didn't leaving her on each side, and she just laid there drinking.
I love it. Go Zuki.
So that
Awesome.
Very cool.
all right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. If you like what you hear, like us on social media, share our podcast, and get us some more likes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Bye.